Okay, welcome everybody to the Sunday night chart chat. We are now in August 15th, right down to the last couple of weeks of summer, and really this is, I feel sorry for people who are taking vacations though, because this is when all the fireworks happen in the markets. This is when all the big opportunities really start to kind of develop. Definitely a lot of action going on. This is becoming one of our big winners. How big of a winner will Peak Fintech PKK be? This is stock we introduced last year, right at the end of summer. I think it was right after Labor Day. 70 cents post split, so 35 cents then. They did it, 2 for 1. So basically 70 cents. Stock hit $10 the other day. And I think one of the big highlights today is we're going to talk about what's ahead for Peak Fintech, because the stock pulled back a little bit on Friday. So what's going on for PKK? There's talk of this. All of a sudden, everybody, is saying, "Oh, can this be a $30 stock?" I'm seeing all sorts of crazy numbers. A lot of interesting things happening. But again, this is the last. This is when a lot of action happens. I don't know if anybody's watching what's going on around the world. We know that Joe Biden is on vacation, and of course, this is what happens when people take these vacations. The Taliban have actually. This is like the Saigon rooftop, U.S. Embassy rooftop moment. They basically take it over, right? So actually, no, officially they're taking over. I don't know if they're in the U.S. Embassy yet. I'm not watching the news right now. But this is, what were these guys saying? Oh, it's going to be months. Oh, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. Well, there you go. So why is that important? I don't think we're going to see any real impact on the markets right now. I mean, look, futures, I think I saw them before they were up, maybe down a little bit. Bitcoin, I'm just curious to see what is going on with Bitcoin when you have, look, in theory, Afghanistan is not, it's not a major play, but the long-term impact of a superpower, I mean, the U.S. is really the only superpower in the world to just kind of like run away. And I mean, it's a disgrace, really. I mean, it's really a disgrace. And I think what this is going to do is it's just going to embolden some of the, what do they call, the bad actors out there. The bad actors, I'm not even worried about the, ISIS or, listen, what's next? I can guarantee you, anybody watching this video years from now, you're going to see China take over Taiwan, probably the next 18 months. And the U.S. will not do anything about it. Now, I mean, I think in theory, I'm not getting involved in the politics of China in the Pacific Rim. I guess in theory was part of their country. You have this rebel republic, whatever. But look, we recognize Taiwan as a free country. Now I know this video is going to be banned on was it not the WhatsApp? What's the WeChat? So but I mean, look. Bottom line is the U.S. The main issue is that the U.S. we have a treaty with Taiwan, Japan. There's a whole thing, and basically what happens when China is going to take over Taiwan. I think it's going to have an impact on semiconductors, a lot of things in the short term. It's going to create a lot of turmoil. So the markets could become very volatile, and that'll be a direct result of what you're seeing happen with this embassy, or actually the U.S. Leaving Afghanistan in disgrace. So that's it. Basically, while Joe Biden is in power, or Kamala, whoever is going to be there, it's kind of, we're living through the Carter years. But how do we make money in this time? Because the bottom line is, it doesn't really matter who's in charge of the government, whatever it is. Really, as investors, as just human beings, we have to kind of focus on, what can we do? What can we do with our time? So, Bitcoin is looking really good right now. It was looking a little shaky before, it was a little bit hesitant, and now this thing is just ratcheting up. It's ratcheting up. Now, the reason I'm looking at Bitcoin is I'm curious though, is this an indication of kind of I don't know, kind of a flight to safety? Are people looking at Bitcoin now as a safety asset? I don't know. Is it that mature yet? Or I don't. It's interesting. It's just really interesting to see what's going on. But as I always say, Bitcoin is a really positive tailwind for speculative assets. And the Nasdaq is looking good. I mean, really, financial markets are looking really, really good. It's incredible. So I think we're going to see a very exciting week. Can Bitcoin hit new highs? We're going to know very shortly. I mean, this thing, I talked about Bitcoin being 100,000 this year. And that'll be good. Stay in your lane and pump Fugazi stocks. Yes. Well, James, I'm actually a consultant to the White House. They ask me on all the important issues, Pacific Rim, Middle East. I get this phone call. This phone rings. Direct line. Yeah. So lots of opium. I mean, there's going to be a lot of interesting things that can happen from this Afghanistan thing. This is like a black swan. This is kind of the black swan that nobody's been looking at. A lot of things can go wrong. I mean, you can have a volcano explode, can cover the earth with ash, for a year. There's a lot. We had a pandemic. So a lot of things that can happen. But this is the main event right here. This line, TBP, RHT, VISB, CBDT is not now, but so it hasn't been for quite a while. So let's go into now. Peak is actually not a client at this point. But I have a vested interest, as I have some shares through an option exercise. That's I think this is going to do quite well. So again, back to this chart. This is a very important chart. Those of you been watching this program for the last 6 months, we went through this period between I would say officially since January. From January till about really May, when this thing, I said multiple times the peak would be breaking out. It would double once it broke out or more. And then it broke below the moving average. And so, and now it's happening. Really, really shaky for peak the last month when it was in this, broke below that $2. But here is so a couple things to keep an eye on. Number one, you have the breakout of that, you want to call it a flag, whatever, pennant, that old $3 level, which is now the $6 level. You're above the 50-day moving average. So where is peak going? So let's take a look. We're having right now, and I've talked about this before, it's going parabolic. So peak is going parabolic right now. There's no question about that. So what does that mean for the stock short term? Because we did see a bit of a pullback on Friday. The question is, what is going to happen this week? Yes, I did. So, but before I get into peak Fintech and where that is going, I'm going to leave that. Leave that for a few minutes. Let's go into let's go into a couple of stocks which are our next 10 baggers and 100 baggers. Because what this is really about is parlaying, and I think one of the very early live streams I did, where we kind of laid out this the methodology, the investment the theory, was the whole idea is you want to get into these things, make 5x, 10x your money, get out, go into the next deal and make 10x. So you parlay that. So, you can, in theory, and we've seen that happen with, I think, Calvin Ting, a couple of other, you can start with, I'm going to use $1,000. Okay. $1,000 turns into 10 grand. That's the first 10 bagger. The second 10 bagger becomes 100 grand. The third 10 bagger becomes $1 million. So in theory, somebody could turn $1,000 into $1 million. And I think we talked about it could be done in roughly, well, it depends on what's happening with the markets, 20 months or so. Look, we've seen, I think Calvin did it. He started with $2 grand. I'm sure some other people have done it, obviously with bigger numbers. This guy's, trading, 50. They might have put 50 grand into some of these stocks, and that became 500. The next deal could become a couple million, etc. So the idea is this: you want to keep your money rotating. You want to keep your money moving, because when a stock goes to like this, what you see happening with peak, the odds of it going to a 10x from here, not that great. But I believe we're going to see a very exciting week. So I'm going to get into that later. But let's get into, I got distracted. Yeah. So right now, we got to look for the next parlay. Where can you put your money into, which has a 10x potential, high upside, minimal risk, or as de-risked as much as possible? I've been talking about logic for a while. I don't know why. People haven't caught on to it. Now, quite frankly, the last 5 months have been a disaster. Chart-wise, it looks fantastic now because you see this beautiful double bottom, and if you kind of zoom out, you can kind of see where this can go. I mean, I've shown you this type of chart with CBDT. I don't know if anybody remembers the old CBDT videos I did where I showed a very similar chart. Back I was doing this in December, January, and we saw what happened with CBDT. It went up 50x. Logic, very, very similar chart setup. So I really think that Logic is going to go to, I don't know about, I really believe we have a very clear path to $15 in the next few months, and then it could be a $20 or $30 stock. It doesn't mean you have to stay there the whole time, but I think it's a very compelling proposition to make a $15 number. So we introduced this last year at $3.50, I believe it was, $3. It went to $14. Then they announced the Canadian financing, and the whole thing fell apart. That deal is done. So now it's trading on the New York exchange. So the Canadians are buying it. And the great thing is this: the great thing about Logic is because it's traded on the New York, people can buy this. I don't know what do they call it, TFSA accounts, all that other good stuff. And the Canadian market, I think, is going to be a game changer, a massive game changer. Jennifer Zhang, invest 10K, trade 10. Yes, 10 bagger 5 times. I haven't done the math, but 5 times you could, in theory, I guess you could turn $1,000 into. People have done it. I mean, we haven't had that yet with the Wall Street Reporter next super stocks yet, I should say, yet. But it could very easily happen. I don't see any reason why it can't. I mean, you've seen, Calvin turn $2 grand into over $1 million. Now, again, I think he turned $2 grand into 500 grand with the Wall Street Reporter stocks, and then he did a double with a different stock. I don't know what it was. I think he went up $1.5 million. I don't know. I haven't. Maybe he's watching. We have to check in to see what he's doing right now. Do I recommend going all in into one of these stocks? Absolutely not. You'd have to be absolutely crazy. But apparently people are doing that these days. What is it? The whole YOLO thing. It's Wall Street bets, that whole phenomenon. So Let's go back to logic, and I'm going to jump into the next one right now. Wait, sorry. How do I close this out? Wait. Oh, how do I close out this? Okay. There we go. Okay, the big rig. We haven't seen the big rig in quite a while. Coming in hot, PKK. All right. Looks like a lot of people are coming back. I guess the summer vacation is over. We got. I mean, this has been a quiet couple of 6-8 weeks. I would have to actually concur with no name over here. Anytime you have one of these things which is really exploding, you're up 5x, 6x, 4x even, pull out your money, pull out your principal. So if you got 10 grand into a stock, it's up, now that 10 grand has become 50 grand or 100 grand, pull out that 10 grand, let the rest ride or whatever, then you're into it for free. And let's see, and that way you're not worried about it. Okay, so big move I'm expecting this week in logic. As you know, sometimes these things take a little bit longer than expected. We saw that happen with Peak. It took a couple of months longer than originally expected. It didn't go 100% according to plan. It's happening now. So we're having a nice little kind of pennant happening here. Maybe a cup and handle, whatever this thing is. This thing, once Peak breaks out 3.25, you're going to see $5. So we need to see a close above 3.50, and then it's going to $5. By the way, in Canada, same symbol, LGIQ on the NEO exchange, and we're starting to see the NEO volume. NEO is becoming the main trading platform for that, and I think it's a very smart decision. Okay, let's go into a name we have not talked about in quite a while. It's making a sneak attack. It's kind of like the Taliban from the countryside. They're going in a couple of days. You don't hear about these guys, and next thing you know, they're taking over the embassy. That's what AIML is doing right now. This is like AIML is like the Taliban at the gates of Kabul, and Monday, Tuesday, I think we're going to see them take over the embassy, and it's going to be huge. Really nice chart pattern here. I think a bit of a head and shoulders, reverse head and shoulders bottom kind of in that thing here. You see it's bumped up right against that 50-day moving average, which is about the 66 cents. I think once it breaks out of here, I think we're going to see AIML 250 in a few months. That's kind of my forecast for AIML. Let's take a look at another mover, and then we're going to go back to Peak. Do not worry, I have not forgotten about Peak. I want to save the best for last. Okay, RHT stock we've been talking about. This has been perking up. While a lot of people are on vacation, they're taking the summer off, Peak is having a major bull market. It's broken out of this moving average. I think we're going to see a new high in RHT before the end of the month. I think I talked about it before. So before the end of August, we're going to see new highs in RHT, and we could easily see 250 plus by end of September. So RHT, great position, beautiful looking chart. You see things like ratcheting up. It just wants to explode. Short-term chart, yeah, looking great. So, but okay. Hey, I don't know. Okay, before you say all your money belongs to WSR, we have a disclaimer. All these stocks we talk about are very high risk. You could lose all your money. Let me run that disclaimer here. Nothing here is a recommendation. These are all paid clients, so we have a biased opinion. And by the way, the baby unicorn, It's going to be, I think, this week. We got to schedule a couple things. The Baby Unicorn Stocks live stream is going to be this week. You're going to have to register for that. And we're going to have, I think, 2 companies, pretty interesting companies. I think some of these could pop, like we saw last time. Somebody was mentioning Pump. That's the symbol, P-U-M-P, not pumping stocks, but Pump is the symbol. That stock basically doubled same day or within 48 hours of it being on the program. Bets, great question. This has been in technically in hibernation, on ice, literally on ice. We're waiting for this merger with the Indian gaming company to close. So, and I tell you, I think it's a good thing that it may be a blessing in disguise that that it's been done over the summer, because it's been a brutal couple of months with stocks between April and just the last few weeks. So I think, and the gaming space, esports, gaming, sports betting is heating up. This is going to be the hottest thing ever, I think. So I think when this thing closes, you're going to see incredible stuff. So yeah, it's annoying that it's that's what happens. So that, by the way, that's another reason maybe not to put all your money into one stock, because worse than a stock going to zero in a day, which we have not had happen yet, it can be halted until this is apparently a Canadian thing. We don't see this happen in the US. In the US, a halt of a stock is usually a bad thing. In Canada, apparently it's a good thing. So it's a backwards type of situation. Okay, this is a very important question of the day here. Can we see TBP at $1? The real question, Morpheus, is can we see TBP at $20 before the end of 2021, excuse me. All right. And now Friday was an ugly day for TBP. Somebody, I don't know what the hell happened. Somebody just dumped a bunch of shares. Yeah, it was like it's very, very weird, very weird. So that kind of screws up the chart. I think we could see TBP over $1, probably in the $2 range by the end of the year. I think that could easily happen. Now, what's going to happen this week? This Friday action, I mean, I don't like this. I mean, and whoever did it, either it was some fluke mistake, or somebody's just trying to really screw up the stock. It's one of those two things. So as you can see, it's below the moving average right now. There is support in this range right here, this 26-cent range into 25 cents. There's actually quite a bit of support above 25 cents. So I think we got to see what happens on Monday and Tuesday, how this kind of shakes out. But I believe we're going to start seeing a move up in the stock. And yeah, I think we're going to see minimum of 250 on this. I think I covered the 4 main ones, right? Oh, by the way, let me pull up Tesla. Again, this is one of the speculative bellwethers that we have. Bitcoin, Tesla. Tesla's looking really good. Tesla is looking like it's going to go to 1,000. This is the $1,000 projection I talked about back in November, the first time somebody asked me about that. There we go. Yeah, I said, hey, this thing is probably going to go to 1,000, and then it's going to collapse. But right now, I think it's going to go way past 1,000. I think we're going to see, because again, the longer these stay in this holding pattern, the more kind of, I don't know how to explain, sort of like a spring. It's kind of, when it breaks out, then it just, it kind of goes in almost in proportion to the chart wise and the amount of time it was in this. You could see $1,200, $1,400 on Tesla very easily. Right now, it's looking amazing. So I think we're in a very good position for a lot of the speculative assets going into the next couple of September, October, November. I think it's going to be very, very exciting. It's kind of like this is it's kind of like so the people who have basically been involved in the markets, have put money to work in these stocks during the summer, they're going to be reaping, just like I guess wheat or whatever they grow. It's like you're going to be reaping the harvest in the fall. And if you didn't plant the seeds in the summer, you're going to be missing out. You're going to be basically missing out. So so the stocks, I'm expecting massive, huge moves on next few months into October, November. TBP, Logic, AIML, RHT, fans also. This is a couple others. I'm not going to have time to cover. Things are looking really good. And again, we're going to be introducing probably a few new stocks in September. A lot of people right now, they're kind of, they don't want to do any kind of promotion or what have you, but I think September, October is going to be an amazing time. We're actually kind of fine tuning the whole group of stocks that we have, the next super stocks. We're gonna pare it down. It's going to be very, very highly curated. What is that? That's the word everybody likes to use. Curated, edited down. Under maybe 8 stocks, 10 stocks maximum. Really 8 probably that we're going to be focusing on. TBP, Logic, AIML, a couple of others, and a few new ones. We're going to be introducing a couple of new stocks in September. So why am I telling you this? You're going to want to have ready cash at some point in September. Okay, let's get into Peak. The main event. Now we're back for the main event. What is going on with Peak? Let me go into, okay, so we're breaking out of this kind of holding pattern. How high can this stock go from here? Well, first of all, let me go into the short-term chart so you could kind of see what is likely to happen tomorrow. And what is likely to happen tomorrow is I think we're going to see new highs tomorrow. I mean, you're seeing, again, this kind of pennant formation. I mean, this thing just wants to run. It's like a horse, it's biting, at the bit, whatever, the racehorse. This thing just wants to run. This thing, Peak Fintech, is looking for any excuse to go higher. I mean, 15-minute chart. Wow. I mean, it is like a Mars rocket, not even some sort of massive, it is just like waiting to take off. Okay, so let's take a look at this chart. It's pretty interesting. You can kind of see where the move started at $6, the breakout above $6, $3, right? That was the $3 was the ceiling on Peak Fintech for months. That was the big number, and we could never break through it. And sure enough, wait, hold on a second. My thoughts were interrupted. Oh, we got a super chat. We've not had a super chat in a long time. So this is, oh my God, a dollar. It's the thought that counts. Okay, so Red Light Holland, which I don't know what's going on with Red Light. They're kind of on a hiatus right now. We're not really, I don't know what's going on. Maybe they might come back in September. I have no idea. I will pull up the chart because I also have a vested interest. I'd like to see that stock do well. Okay, the super chats are coming in hot. So I'll go back to the Red Light Holland after I finish off the Peak Fintech. So what is going on here? You sort of break it above $6. Again, that's kind of like, the story about the 4-minute mile. I'm sure, okay, so, people thought nobody could run a mile in under 4 minutes. And then was this guy, Roger Bannister, broke the 4-minute mile, I think in the 1950s or the 60s. I think he was a high school kid. And since then, like millions of people or maybe tens of thousands, once they saw it could be done, they've run a mile in under 4 minutes. So, what was thought to be impossible, the floodgates open. Same thing here. $3 was seen as this unsurmountable barrier. Once a stock breaks out, that's it. The cat is out of the bag. And why am I looking at this chart? Because to me, I don't know how to really articulate this well, in how to kind of articulate in plain English to tell you kind of what I am seeing. But I am seeing basically something that it basically doubled. You can kind of see the momentum from 6 to 10. And I think we could see that same level percentage-wise go from 10 once it breaks out of this $10. So it wasn't quite a double. From 6 to 10 is how much? That's a 70% or whatever. So I believe that we're going to see a blow-off this week in peak, a massive parabolic move into we could see $14 or $18. 14, $18 could be possibility. I know there's people saying, oh, it's going to go to $30 or whatever. I don't know about that. I just know that to me, it looks like this stock is going to go to $14 or $18 very, very quickly. Let me just show you something to show you. Oh, not GBLC. I hate that. Oh, actually, oh shit, this thing is looking. I haven't looked at this in a while. I'm sorry. GBLC looks like it's going higher. So that is GBLC. I was going to look at what the hell is it? CBDT. CBDT. Why am I bringing this up? So again, it's a stock we introduced at a nickel back in November. Again, it was in that holding pattern in that kind of 30-cent range for several months. Nobody thought it could break out. And once it did, I'm showing you this for a reason. Once you broke out from that 30 cents, it went up almost 10x that number. It basically went up $2.20. Again, it was like a 7x of that original ceiling. And it went, parabolic. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 days. Can the same thing happen with peak Fintech? I think they can. By the way, somebody was asking about CBDT. So we haven't worked with CBDT in, I don't know, since May, I think it was. I think CBDT actually we might see a bottom at 25 cents. We'll see what happens then from the chart perspective. Again, I've said this before. I really, this is a stock that could have bottomed out here in the $1.50 range, built a base, and there is no reason for it to be in this range. But hey, okay. So I'm not gonna go into all that stuff, but basically, look, here's the reality. It's very important when these things when the stocks start going crazy. The CEO of a company's got to be visible because people, people start getting nervous. When a guy goes MIA, nobody knows what's going on. They panic, whatever. So I am hoping that Johnson is going to, is not going to be MIA. I'm hoping that Johnson at peak will, appear this week somewhere on any live show. I don't care where he does it. So okay, there we go, James. Okay, yeah, okay. I'm gonna pull up the trip chart. Sorry about that. I was on. When I'm on the other screen, I can't see what's happening here. So Okay. So 66 million shares outstanding. Okay, that is okay. There's less physics. Yeah, that's the word, physics. There we go. It's out. Yeah. So basically, what you see, this chart stuff is basically physics. That's kind of what it is. It's price, momentum, action. So yeah, keep an eye on this. I think we're going to see peak 14, $18 this week, I believe. I know it sounds crazy. I'm not trying to hype it or anything. I'm just kind of telling you kind of what's going on. It looks very similar to other charts we've seen that had these, parabolic blow-offs. Let's look at NPAR, one of our old favorites, which we have not worked with for quite a while. But why am I showing you that chart? Because look, you had this ceiling at $2, $2.50. Nobody thought it could break out of that, right? Once it broke out of that, it went from $2.50 to $10. So it went 4x the old ceiling. There's kind of, you kind of see what's going on. You kind of see where I'm going, right? And by the way, this is completely different point in time. This is like, a different market environment, different stocks, everything different. But when things go parabolic, you can kind of see what happens. And 1, 2, 3, 8, I think it spent about 10 days doing that climb. So basically these parabolic moves last about a week to 10 days. Now, what happens after that is, in these cases, the moves failed. But sometimes, they can be, if they're smart about what they do. In the case of NextTech, they kind of screwed a couple things up. When this thing happened, same thing happened. I'll tell you what it is. Let me be very, very candid with you. What I believe happened is, when something is going parabolic, you really want to be promoting the stock. I know it sounds crazy, I'm not a pump and dump guy, but the problem is when something is going parabolic, the stock goes up 4x like that. You want to basically, the CEO's got to be out there. The company's got to be very, very visible and transparent, because that builds credibility in the market. And so by the time the stock does settle down, it'll settle down maybe at a higher plateau. So, it may have gone up, from whatever, $1 to $5, but at least it'll drop to, $3 and build a base at $3 instead of dropping back down to $1, right? So sort of advanced of, whatever. Okay, so this guy James, all right, $5 super chat, Bruce. Okay, so listen, bottom line is this. I think the story with Trip is very different than what it was originally. It's no longer really a pure psychedelics play. It's, they're doing the merger with this cannabis company, and with Linton involved, I haven't tracked what's going on there, but where's Trip? So essentially what you're getting right now, I think the story is, originally was, pure play psychedelics, blah, 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 microdose, etc. Now you're kind of getting the Bruce Linton story in here, if he comes on as chairman full time. And this guy Will Lay. So you're gonna have like the three musketeers there. And that's interesting. So those guys have built huge businesses before, right? As I'm sure James C can tell you. Here's what's interesting. The stock has basically held, it's held on. The volume has been dead. They haven't been promoting as far as I know. We're not doing anything with them for a couple of months now. But it's kind of held on. I have a feeling that they're waiting for this merger to close, or Bruce Linton to come on. I think once that happens, run. Where can this run? I think north of $1, easily. Easily north of $1. So we got to see what happens with this merger, right? And when that closes and all that other good stuff. So yes, I would say, okay, so here's, okay, so fundamental story, right? So here's the fundamentals with Peak. Let me get Peak back on the screen because that's the main event for today. Yeah. Okay, so why did they do this reverse split, right? They did the reverse split when it was $3 so that they can get onto NASDAQ, right? Usually companies do that right before, I mean, usually you want to do that type of thing right, a few days before the NASDAQ thing, right? So now they said they were applied, they're going on, now they raised $50 million, right? We know that. Are they going to go on NASDAQ? I have no idea because look, we've had companies say they're going to go on NASDAQ. I mean, shit. I mean, we had Next Tech said that they were going to go on NASDAQ. Other companies. I mean, sometimes with these things, for for whatever reason, these things get bugged. Whatever happens. So I always kind of believe it when I see it. But if these guys are actually doing the reverse split, it gives me an indication that it's probably very close. It maybe, usually they do it like that, a few days. So it could be this week. I mean, they might go on NASDAQ this week, maybe next week. But yeah, the NASDAQ thing is probably close. Otherwise, why would they do the reverse? Otherwise, I mean, I think they should do a split. They should do a 1 for 10. Get the stock back to $1, so that way it starts running again. Because a lot of people, $10, $15, that's a different type of buyer. This guy's amazing. Okay, James. Hybrid Lab, we got it. The Hybrid Lab stock is going up. I think Red Light is going to do very well. I think Bruce Linton is the one who's doing the super chat. I don't think it's James. I think it's Bruce Linton using an alias to do some cheap stock promotion. For $5, he's promoting. No, thank you very much, though. I love the concept. I actually looked at a stock that was in that area, and I don't know what happened to those guys. It was like a penny stock thing. I think it was a scam. We never did anything with them. But as a concept, I like it. Let's see here. So, yeah. So so here's what I think is going to happen. Oh, so let me go back. I got distracted by this $5 super chat here. Hakeem is making a very important point. Okay, so here is the weird thing about Peak. Everything about this company is kind of backwards. Like what normally does not work in a company seems to be working for Peak, and it's its own animal. It really is its own, stock is its own kind of universe, especially at this point. So I think what could be happening is, and it's weird because, you would think that these guys would be promotional, but they're really not promotional. The whole thing is just, it's like it's very backwards. But so I think what's going to happen is this: if they're going to go on NASDAQ, let's say it's this week, they're probably going to have a bunch of news right after. They're probably going to have a bunch of news events, to back up the NASDAQ thing. I'm assuming they want to go into NASDAQ strong, especially with this split, especially with the stock moving. So they could be sitting on some news. So I think this is a very important point. Thank you for this comment, Hakeem. I meant to bring it up, but I forgot about it. So thank you for bringing it up. Yeah, so this could be a very, very big week or few weeks for PKK. So if they go on NASDAQ, you're going to want to watch for some of these events. And those could be the catalysts that drive the stock to 18 bucks. I'm looking at a chart. The chart, the chart kind of tells you what's going to happen. It doesn't really, the fundamentals are kind of baked into it, right? So that's the deal. Okay. Thank you for everybody for joining. I'll see you in the next live stream. Stay tuned to Logic this week, AIML, RHT, TBP, and of course, Peak Fintech. Could be very exciting. This could be one of the most exciting weeks we've had for any of our stocks because we've never had a stock. I'm trying to think, have we had it? No, in our next super stock universe, this is the first. Well, the reverse split, but $10. That's a real milestone. So, and I think what else I think is interesting is that we've had sometimes when a company goes on NASDAQ, it kind of bombs, like we saw what happened with Skylight. I think with Peak, it's going to be the opposite because Peak is, again, it does everything the opposite way. So, by the way, Skylight, I think, will do very well. It's just going to take a while. It's going to take a couple of months. And that's the deal. All right. Thank you. See you on the next live stream.